struggle is real. It's me versus me, the struggle is real. Why don't you choose yourself? Choose yourself right now. It's me versus me, the struggle is real. The struggle is real. Welcome to Series 2, Episode 2 of It's Me versus Me Life Change Challenge. Tonight is going to be an exciting episode. Last week, we had a new participant, Vaughn Cox, who talked to us about her reason for losing weight. As she stated by herself, she is getting serious about being the temple of God. It was a great show with perfect timing to help us dive into the next step of our weight loss journey, looking into the spiritual aspect of why we want and need to be healthy. If you haven't watched last week's episode yet, it's not too late. You can watch all the previous episodes on YouTube. Also, don't miss us on the Now Network every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are reaching out past our little corner of the world to help anyone around the world interested in the Me versus Me Life Change Challenge. Tonight, we're going to give an update on Vaughn Cox and her first week as a participant on Me versus Me Life Change Challenge. She ordered a smartwatch Fitbit that should be here tomorrow, called a Sense 2 for around $200. Vaughn went by the Civic Center to start her membership. She also went shopping this week and bought some ground turkey, eggs, mushrooms, onions, and peppers. Here's a picture of what she fixed this morning, which equaled calories, 267, carbs, 7.6, proteins, 24.5. Doesn't that look yummy? And she bought some yogurt called Ratio with 25 grams of protein and only 8 grams of carbs. Now, they had a little bit more calories than what we're used to, but that 25 grams of protein was crazy. And Vaughn started using her Lose It app and has eaten 333 calories by around 4 p.m. today. What a great job she is doing to begin her life change journey, and she is really excited about getting started. Now, stay tuned for Jessie Ghoulish as we dive into the spiritual aspect of eating disorders and addictions right after this very short break. Are you struggling with your weight? Do you feel like your health is starting to fail and the fight is just too hard? Well, you're not alone. Many people are fighting the same battle every day. Some win battles, but few win the war. And why is it so hard to win? Because you're fighting against someone who knows you very well, someone who knows your weaknesses and your faults. And who is this enemy? It's you. It's me. That's where It's Me versus Me Life Change Challenge comes in. What will it take for you to make the necessary changes to take your life back? You can either pay now or you can pay later. Through high-tech 3D body scanning, It's Me versus Me can help take the guesswork out of your fitness and weight loss goals through periodic measurement of your progress. Make the decision. If not now, then when? The struggle is real, so let's fight this battle together and be our best selves. Well, welcome back. We learned so much last season about the foods that we eat, such as the different types of diet, fat, metabolism, why we hit plateaus, and why we get hungry. We talked about the fitness and the different types of equipment available for home and at the gym. We dove into the different types of diets out there, how each one works, and why there's not one single solution to weight loss that works for everyone, but many different choices. We welcomed special guests that talked about their own personal experiences, such as gastric sleeve, gastric bypass, extreme weight loss, autoimmune diets, and auto-inflammatory diets. We learned about how our bodies can have a immune response to the foods we eat, causing pain, swelling, bloating, constipation, and diarrhea. We had a family counselor come and talk to us about the psychology behind being overweight and the need to dig down into ourselves and address those things that make us overeat. Tonight, we would like to welcome our special guest, Jesse Gulish. Jesse is from Celebrate Recovery here in Paris. He will be focusing on the spiritual aspects of eating disorders and addictions. Welcome, Jesse, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have you tonight.
So glad to be here.
Yeah. So I have known you for years. I mean, I've known of you for years, and it's really exciting to get to talk to you and kind of pick your brain about some of the things that spiritually I know. As we've done this is our 18th week. This is our 18th week. And I've known even before we started that the spiritual journey of what we need to work for and toward, we can continue to band-aid our eating issues. We can continue to band-aid our eating disorder issues, our gluttony or issues. But if we don't address the internal part of what makes us tick, basically, what makes us react the way that we do, I know good and well, no matter how many participants we have, we'll never win the battle. I know that. And so you have this Celebrate Recovery that I've known about for years here in Paris, and it's at TVCC Church. I can't wait to hear what all you have to share with us tonight.
Well, there's so many things. I don't even know where to start hardly. Celebrate Recovery is a Christ-centered 12-step recovery program. And it is for what is making us or making me do the things that I do, living the life that I don't want to live. So how can I turn that around? What can I do? But it's not just about bettering myself, because like I said, it's a Christ-centered recovery program, but it is a 12-step program. So there's actions.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
So you're talking about the 12-step, like AA 12-step.
Similar. And they have,
to that.
They don't have Bible taglines that go along with it, but they have scriptures that correlate to these. And so it's really an awesome program, but the program isn't what makes it awesome. The program is awesome because of who the program guy is guided toward Christ.
Okay.
So I want to back up though. I love, as you just introed here tonight, but also if anybody hasn't had the chance to look back on some of the previous episodes. I love what you've done to tie in so many things, because as we've talked just a little bit about what does this look like? It sounds like primarily a journey about diets and wellness. But you've quickly discovered, not just is there not one way to do it, but you cannot just look at one thing. It's everything that deals with it. And so knowing that, we got to back up to what kind of person am I talking about? Who am I? What is if we're talking about eating and wellness and diets, what's my struggle with? Is it an eating disorder? Is it a food addiction? Or that could be drug and alcohol addiction, any kind of addiction, gambling. Why do I do that? Is it a true addiction? Or back up even further and say, do I just go toward food or go toward substance as a coping mechanism? And some people just go as they say, well, I'm not truly addicted, and maybe they're not. But it is a coping mechanism.
Now, when you say food addiction or eating disorder, now what are you explaining to that? Can you explain those two different? Is there a difference between those two? Because I'm fascinated with this.
So, first, let me back you up even further. I was asked to come talk to you and be a part of this, and I thought, man, I'm not the guy to talk about this. And I feel like I'm really not, because I've been working in healthcare for quite a while, so I've got some healthcare experience. I do eat, so I've got some experience with that. But
Right.
I'm no expert on eating disorders. But if we're going to talk about the spiritual aspect and why we do what we do, I've had some experience with that and the spiritual aspect. So to answer that brings me back to what kind of disorders might we be talking about? You're primarily dealing with people who are having struggles with eating too much, or having a disability to stop eating when they start, and that can be an addiction. But there's also this whole other side of body dysmorphia, right? That I feel, my BMI is 7, maybe not mine, of course, but a person might have a BMI of 7 and say, "Man, I'm really fat." And while the people on the outside don't see that, it's
Right.
very real for them.
Yeah.
Now, you can't tell them you're not fat, you need to eat. They've heard that. That's not helpful.
And that's the disorder part.
That would be a
The
disorder for sure.
anorexia, bulimia,
Of course.
things like that. And then you've got the addiction, where you have this internal need to continue to eat and eat and eat. Is that what you're talking about on the addiction
That
part?
would be a food addiction, sure.
Because an addiction actually increases your endorphins in your body and your brain, and makes you feel better for a little while. Same as alcohol and drugs and things like that. So
that's the science behind
yeah,
a true addiction, right?
Yeah.
What does the world call an addiction? A person who indulges too much in what? In some sort of substance, they would say, well, that's an addiction.
Right.
Is it? Sometimes. But sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's just a every now and then thing, but
And,
not.
and I think that it's okay to let people know that I lack discipline in a certain area. Sometimes I just need to stop. And sometimes the answer, that is the answer sometimes. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it has to go much, much deeper.
Okay.
And I love, man, your tagline here, the struggle's real.
Struggle's
it's me
real.
versus me.
Yep.
So, if I'm here to talk a little bit about the spiritual aspect about this,
Absolutely.
we are very common to point the finger at the devil, or at other people, or at things in our past. And those are real. They're very real, and we have to know they're real, and we have to learn how to deal with them appropriately. But we also have to recognize that most frequently, the trouble is me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we started calling everything a disease, and that's even a fault in itself, because if we say this is a disease, then we don't really have to take any responsibility for it.
So that is a real problem. But I don't want to take anybody off of the consideration list that says, oh, man, I'm struggling with this thing and they've called it a disease. Are you telling me that I'm not struggling? No. I recognize your struggle.
Right.
I certainly recognize your struggle.
Right.
I just don't know if you're really looking at this with the right lens, with the right way. And so I really, back to, when I was asked to come talk, one of the things that was mentioned was the consideration of how food has been a struggle from the beginning of biblical times. Okay, the first sin, Adam and Eve was tempted. Eve was tempted by the serpent, the enemy, the devil, with an apple.
Yep.
Or some sort of
food.
Food, right? So it was food.
Right. That's right.
Why? This is something that's good. This is something we need. This is something, but somehow it can be a problem for that long. And we can read through scripture time and time again, we can also read what does Jesus say about it.
Yeah.
And so the enemy tempts him with food also, one of the things, with well, a couple other things, of course, that we can't forget about. But one of the things is with food. And so it was neat to hear that and go, man, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And in this context, we know that it's that easy to be tempted by food. But so how does Jesus say to deal with it? What does he say? He says, man cannot live off of food alone.
Right.
He says bread alone. But what does he say we need? We need him. We need him. And so it makes me wonder sometimes as I'm going to the fridge and I'm looking for something that I don't need, I'm looking for comfort, where should I go? I should go to him.
Right. Wow.
And so sometimes it can be just that easy. But does that really apply to everybody?
Good question.
You had an interview last couple weeks ago with a young lady that, I say young lady, she's probably my age, I guess, and she's starting this journey, and she's dropped some weight already, and man, this is just an awesome spiritual journey that she's on. And I encourage you to go back, anybody who's watching, go back and watch this. I'm glad she's not here. We'd all be in tears probably. It was very moving, very moving. She's clearly wanting to do this for her body to represent the temple that we read about in Scripture, and that is great.
That is Vaughn, and she just signed up, and that's what has opened up this whole section right here. I knew that this series 2 was going to be a time of healing. I didn't realize that it was going to come so fast, and I'm so excited about it. But she definitely opened that can, and we're just, her humbleness was so precious. And you didn't even see the behind scenes. We cried a lot before we ever even got to the part where we did our video. And then on top of that, we had prayer group right there in my office. And she wasn't even going to come that night. And then she just said, the Lord told me, go. And she said, I told the Lord, I'm not going. No. And then the Lord said, you need to go. And so she came up here and just did it was on a whim. It was just that fast. And so, yeah, that was, but I've dealt with my overweightness my whole entire life. And I know that all the people that are on this program have dealt with it their whole lives too. And I know that there's so many things that are in our hearts and our trauma. And you were talking about it yesterday. Trauma can be massive over here to this person, but it can be what we would consider minimal. I'm paraphrasing what you said. Minimal to this person, but it still feels the same.
So we're at a really funny time in our society where we're pretending to recognize things, but we're still making fun of people, and it's really not good. But some people are doing good at it, so I can't bash it too much. So there's really good things coming out of it. So I have to be careful with that. The bottom line is that when we go through something, and there's a lot of analogies like the car wreck, when 3 people are on 3 different corners, and you're looking at the same wreck, you all have a different description of it.
Exactly.
And 3 siblings might grow up in the same household, and they have a completely different description of the family. And they might have a different description of an uncle or an aunt or a person who they had an encounter with. And that encounter might have been horrific.
Right.
And they may have never dealt with that. Or that encounter may have been awkward and damaging to them.
Yeah, right.
And who's to judge and say whether it maybe didn't sound like her testimony, is it real? And it is very real. It's that perceived damage.
Yeah.
And what do we do with that? well, it doesn't seem that bad, so I won't tell anybody. Or I don't want to burden somebody else, or I don't want to get somebody else in trouble. Or it was so bad, maybe it's my fault. And there's this whole spectrum of why it was dealt with inappropriately. The bottom line is that we often don't know how to deal with it. And we don't encourage one another with love to deal with things. And so we mask ourselves, we act like everything's okay, and we go about life.
That's true.
And then we pick up these little things and we do them as protective devices often. As children, the child that hides or tries to help their parents do things as a mechanism, as a helpful mechanism, has now turned into an adult that has to fix everybody.
All right.
And so how do I back up and go, why, man, how did I get here? How did I get here? How did I get a BMI of 48?
Right.
How did I get to where I have no control of my life? Drinking, drugs, food, whatever it is. Control issues, anger, gambling. How did I get here? Because if I don't address what got me here, I can stop for a minute, but it will not last.
It will not last. And that's where we're here right now. When we talk about being the temple of the Holy Ghost, and Vaughn talked about that, and she just wants to honor it. But again, our want to can be that I want to be the best for the Lord. I want to be the best for the temple. I want to take care of myself. I want to do all that stuff. But still, if you don't deal with what you're talking about, when we talked about yesterday, I said, they say only 1/3 or whatever of kids are molested and whatever. And I know it's got to be 2/3. I know it's got to be 2/3. So when you look at all the stuff that people have gone through over time, and what you're talking about, you don't tell people. And it could be, I got in a situation one time when I was a kid, and my brothers and my parents never even knew about it until back last summer when I actually opened a can of worms and said, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. And everybody couldn't believe it. But you carry this turmoil with you your entire life. And the only way that you could smooth that over was by an addiction, whether it be, it could be a sexual addiction. And we're not just talking about weight loss here. We're talking about all addictions, all of them. Wellness of self and your spirit on the inside.
So
your heart.
Man, we can go so many places, right? So many directions. The number of people who've been involved, afflicted by some sort of unwanted sexual assault is what it is. There's numbers everywhere from the low 20% up to the 70%.
I would believe it.
Of male and female and male, both.
Absolutely.
And whatever the numbers are, we know they're higher. They're horrible. They're horrible. And the reason that they're going to stay horrible, if we don't do anything, they will stay horrible. If we don't do anything in our culture that says, not only is it not okay, but it's okay that you want to get out of that.
Yeah.
Because we have to break these cycles, the cycles of dysfunction, whether it's the sexual assault or whatever chaos is at home. There's some sort of chaos in pretty much every household.
Every household.
And it creates a hurt.
Yeah.
And so one of the best ways we talk about a Celebrate Recovery, one of the best things that we describe it as, this childhood hurt, I just can't get away from it. I get hung up on it.
You do, or the Celebrate Recovery?
Any of us.
Any of us do. Oh, people do.
We're hurt. And then we get hung up on that, and it often creates a habit. And so Celebrate Recovery is for hurts, hang-ups, and habits.
Hurts, hang-ups, and habits, okay?
And so this hurt as a child developed a hang-up and often develops habits, whether it is like we said, whether it's an addiction of sorts or just a really bad habit that could be just inhibiting your walk. What does your walk look like?
Right.
One place I definitely want to go and camp out for just a second, if we can, is I love the consideration of what is my body.
Okay.
And if we look into scriptures, my body is a temple. I'm going to back way off of that.
Okay.
Because not everybody is comfortable with that language.
That's true.
Not everybody understands that and feels comfortable with this. Like, hold on. Like, I got to be honest. Like 15 years ago, I didn't view my body as a temple. I was doing everything I could to damage myself. What kind of temple is that?
Wow.
And so why would I want to take care of myself? When people look at scripture, what glasses do they use? What are they thinking about? Are they thinking about their childhood traumas on their way to church? The person who they knew from church that produced a trauma? So there's a lot of church hurt people, and there's a lot of people who've been hurt by people who go to church.
That's true.
That's hard.
It is hard.
We're in the Bible Belt. I love it. We can talk about God. We can talk about it. People go to church all the time. It doesn't mean they're doing the right thing.
That's true. Wow.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is.
And so what do we say to the people who are struggling with that? We're like, you need to look at scripture and say, I want to invite you to this 12-step Christ-centered recovery program. It's like, well, hold on. Did you say go to church?
Right.
I'm not going to church.
Right.
And hold on. Why not?
Yeah. Wow.
Who hurt you?
Yeah.
What happened? Are you willing to talk about that yet? No? Okay. And so there's a lot of people who aren't there yet. And that's okay. My hope's they will get there. I hope they will.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore their pain. Their pain is real. And they're still struggling. And they want to better themselves.
Yeah.
And so I believe that Celebrate Recovery can help them better themselves and introduce them into a relationship with the Lord.
Absolutely. Can we look at your pamphlet that you love so much, your favorite one?
So we got a couple different things here.
I just want to focus on this one first. And so I'm going to hold this up because very awesome.
So the graphic on the front here is one of my favorite graphics, and I introduced it a few years ago at one of the Celebrate Recoveries. It's not unique. Celebrate Recovery is not unique to this area. I was invited 10 years ago, probably, or more, probably much more than that. But I walked in nearly 10 years ago and found out that there's a whole lot of people who are willing to discuss their struggles. A place where people are transparent. It's a little uncomfortable at first, like, wow, what? These people are willing? And it actually makes it very comfortable that they're openly struggling through life. I'm not hitting it on, I'm not hitting all these areas. I'm trying, but I'm willing to say I'm struggling in these areas. But the language, when we say things like 12-step, it automatically brings this consideration to addictions, drugs, and alcohol primarily. But this graphic here starts, it says 2 out of 3 people at Celebrate Recovery are there for hurts, not addictions. Back to that hurts, hang-ups, and habits idea, that why are they actually there? And so on here is a handful of things: shame, control, fear, financial issues, eating disorders, anger, people-pleasing, codependency, despair, pride, grief. So that's just a few of them that are on here. It shows that we have a common struggle. And all of these things include me.
Right.
And so I have real issues from my past. I have real issues from some of the things that are going on around me. But ultimately, it's up to me to walk in the doors. And if there's somebody holding me back, it's me.
Yeah.
And so I love your it's me versus me. Man, it is. It is.
I trademarked that, by the way. That's my trademark.
Good.
I actually trademarked that. I can go ahead and put a TM on that. I did want to, I just kind of, I don't know you read them out fast, but I just want to go over some of these. 2 out of 3 people are there for hurts. So we're going to go, the shame, control, fear, perfectionism. Wow. Eating disorders, codependency, anger, people-pleasing, despair, pride. Now, that's an interesting one to have on there. Okay, grief, pornography, adultery, abortion, abuse, dysfunction. There's so many things, and there's probably way more than this that you guys actually cover. So whenever somebody comes to your Celebrate Recovery, you were talking about how you have this one big, the whole group
So
comes
what does the
together.
night look like,
What's
right?
the night look like when you?
So we invite people to dinner. Our culture is really funny, right?
I know. We talk
And
about it every week.
We talk about this all the time. I talk about it all the time. We have this
We
funny
have to have
culture where we
food.
have to have food. It's what breaks down our walls,
Boundaries.
our boundaries, and we're willing to say, okay, yeah, I can sit down and eat next to each
That's
other.
true.
And it can be a good thing.
Yeah.
And so we try to have some salads and something a little healthier. We don't always have junk food.
Right.
So we have a pretty decent meal. A couple people up there, one in particular, does most of the cooking and really does a great job, and I really appreciate him. But we have food at 5:30 at TVCC, and then
And that's on a certain night.
Tennessee Valley on Thursday nights.
Thursday nights. Okay.
And then the large group starts at 6 o'clock in the main auditorium. And what that starts with is praise and worship, which is unique to Celebrate Recovery. And like I said, not this Celebrate Recovery necessarily, this one too, yes, but all Celebrate Recoveries have praise and worship to help us shake off the day, to help us get in the mood, to help us connect our vertical relationship with God, and if nothing else, to help us just be here for a moment.
Yeah.
And then we move into either a lesson, a teaching lesson, about 25 lessons, or a testimony every other week.
I've been to your
Personal
testimony one.
testimonies.
Love it. I love that testimony issue. Love it.
The testimony of Celebrate Recovery is a written testimony of how Celebrate Recovery has helped that individual from where they were to where they are, how they're serving. How did Celebrate Recovery have a part in that? How did God move them to where they are now? And what are they doing about it? I hope to hear in every testimony, what are they doing about it? Are they passing it forward? Are they doing something else? Are they helping others?
Right.
And I've heard you mention, when we're on this journey, the journey you're targeting, right? These journeys here, part of the reason why you want to encourage others is to encourage others.
Absolutely. We can't do this by ourselves.
And that's a great thing. That is a great thing. And that is a biblical model of discipleship that we don't just do this to get better. And I say frequently, he didn't help me. God didn't help me in certain ways, comfort me in certain ways so that I can sit in my recliner of wellness.
Totally. Exactly.
And so I should be here now, hopefully encouraging somebody else on their journey to begin or continue. And so we have a dinner at 5:30. Large group starts at 6 with testimony, with worship, then testimony or lesson. And then we break off into male and female, open share groups or small groups, open share groups. And if we have larger groups, we'll break them off into smaller groups with issue specific. And so that'll be maybe an addictions group and a codependency group and a mixed group or what have you. With lower numbers, you might only have 1 or 2 groups. With higher numbers, you'll have more groups.
Well, I love what y'all do. In fact, I've had a couple of caregivers that work for my company that's been in your Celebrate for Recovery.
Awesome.
And I've been to when one of my caregivers especially went through your program, and then she did the talk at your large, gave her testimony, and she invited me to come, and so that was really great. And I've been to, I think y'all had, I can't remember all the classes I've been to, but I've been to several. But I love sending, and a lot of times I'll send people there and refer your classes to these people. Now you have a 25-week class as well.
So those two are on Thursday night. All of that is on Thursday night.
Okay.
And so there's a great video on YouTube called 3 Doors to Celebrate Recovery.
Okay.
And that includes large group, open share group, and the third one is step study.
Okay.
So that's the 25 lessons, 1 week at a time on a separate night, where a group of men or a group of women will meet, not gender together, never together. And then going through these seemingly simple questions, going through this lesson, and then discussing it within a group. And there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in that. It's a really great thing.
Yeah, you feel more comfortable with gender being with the same women,
It's
male.
certainly safe.
It does feel more safer, especially if you've. Yeah, it just feels a lot safer, and it's easier to open up and to share some of the things that you've been through.
Many of the hurts and many of the struggles and problems are either caused or too comforted by the opposite sex.
That's true. Yeah.
And so we're careful to draw this line that says we don't get too involved.
Wow. Well,
And so
yeah, we really need to, and we were talking last night about how we look at other sins as being, and we're going to come back to, and I know these cover a lot of things, and I'm so thankful for it, but really I want to come back to the weight issue and the church. Now, that has been my big thing ever since I started this. It's been on my mind for several years, and I've been overweight for many, many years. And just now, this life change that I've come into, I never want. Okay, so we're going to talk about being a Christian. Okay, so a lot of times we don't want to. You don't hear anybody preaching about it because most people don't want to preach about it, or they don't have it under control. They don't feel like they're capable. Just like you didn't think you were capable to come here tonight. A lot of preachers don't feel that they're capable to speak about the temple of God, of the being the temple of the Holy Ghost and all that. And I know some people don't understand the lingo, or they don't want to, or they don't know, or they don't understand. We're going to talk to the ones that do know.
okay.
As Christians, we have taken a back seat to calling it what it really is. We can call it a sin because that's exactly what it is. It's called gluttony, okay? And my roommates laughed at me because last week I used the word gluttony, and they laughed and laughed and laughed, and I was like, "What are you laughing about?" Because that's just what is in the Bible. You know, this is what it is.
It's an older word.
Okay, so I listened to this guy, and Kevin turned me on to this video, food, and I can't remember what the title is now, but the devil's is what the devil uses, you know, to tempt us and everything. But he was talking about how we don't call it adultery anymore; we call it an affair. You know, we don't call it going with a hooker or a lady. They call it lady of the night. You know, everything is words have changed everything.
Words matter.
And they do matter. And if you call it really what it is, adultery, and when you think about an affair, oh, let's go to an affair, it's going to be so much fun. But you call it adultery, it means something biblically. You call it an affair, no big deal. So, but nobody ever talks about gluttony being overweight. And I was telling you last night about how saw something in the paper, in National Prayer Day, and every year it's like this. And you look at the picture and you see how many people that are Christians, and I know that they're Christians, and I know they love the Lord, and I know they serve the Lord. I know these people, but everybody's overweight. And we're not talking 20 or 30 pounds. We're talking 50, 75, 100, 200, 300 pounds overweight. And we have to, I think we really, as a Christian society, or Christian people, need to stop and say, hey, we need to take a look at this because we don't want to change. That's why we don't look at it. That's why we don't preach about it. That's why we're not talking about it. And so I think it really needs to be talked about. And I think that getting our bodies in line with the Holy Spirit, with God's plan, in order for us to be able to minister the way God would have us minister, as long as we can minister healthy. We can't minister from the bedside. I mean, some people can and they have to. But for us, we're upright. Right now, we're upright. So we can either take our bodies and get them aligned with the Word of God and be that temple, or we can continue. You don't look like you have an overeating problem. I do. So I can continue to abuse myself and overeat and get into an auto response and can't get up out of a chair. And so during the holidays, I fell off the wagon and just ate what I wanted to and got to where I couldn't get around again like I used to. And now I'm back track and I can move and I can do, but I know that the autoimmune is real and I cannot be completely 100% what God wants me to be. Now, we either are going to be 100% or we're not going to be 100%.
So,
that's it.
I certainly appreciate all of that. And I got to ask, like you said, the holidays. So what led to that? Was there a triggering device? You don't have to tell me.
Oh, I can tell you.
Theoretically or for discussion, if there's a triggering device or something that you need to address, or was there just complacency that says it's around all the time, I might as well, so this complacency, okay, so that is what you need to consider, but also I need to consider, and believe it or not, I really do have a big time struggle, and this is another thing that was made me go, am I really the right person to talk about this? I'm not an expert on eating disorders, I'm not an expert on certain things. I'm an expert on gas station corn dogs and Little Debbie's. It's just terrible. I hate them. They're awful. I love them. So what do I need to do? And so I need to figure out why. Why do I go to them? When do I go to them? Our culture led me to this processed food, that it was okay. And your journey is so awesome that you guys have been digging in to these processed foods.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you have seen so many issues coming from them.
They're huge. They're huge.
And so I have my wife, I'm not going to throw her under the bus too much, but she has been really on this journey also, looking at these things. And as you've talked about, she reads labels. And not only, she goes further and she talks about how things are processed to the point that when she makes a cookie or a batch of cookies, it's healthier than any cookie I can buy. Because the flour that she uses, the chocolate that she uses, the products that she uses are not processed in the same way that what we see in many of the stores. And so that's something we need to address. Let's back up a few times. I'm not sure how many backups we got in us for that, but I honestly have heard some preachers preach on this, even though they know that they're struggling with this. And I love that.
I do.
The conviction that says, man, I'm struggling with this with you.
Yeah.
And so I do get to hear that. And frequently, I hear it from a couple preachers frequently. One recently said, "How do we lose the battle of the bulge?" And my mind went to war, and I'm thinking, no, that's not what he was talking about. He was talking about the battle of the bulge. And he said, with complacency, one bite at a time, one bad decision at a time.
That's true.
And he admitted it to him about himself and spoke of this in the middle of a sermon about that, in addition to other things. But I see this willingness to address this from time to time. But it's not everywhere. No, it's not. And we see our culture that is okay. At least it seems to be okay with this amount of obesity.
Yeah.
A lot of them aren't. They're not. They're really struggling. And they don't know how to get out.
No, you don't. You really don't know how to get out. You don't know where to start. You don't know where to turn. That means when you change, everybody in your household has to change.
Sometimes, right? What if they won't?
That's it. That's it. What if they won't? Now, I have 2 roommates and we're all doing this together, so that makes it easier. Lots easier. And because we saw how easy it was for us to be, supportive of each other, then we realized, we would like to support other people through this.
That's great.
Because you need that accountability partner. You need somebody to call you out whenever you are doing something wrong, you're not supposed to be doing. But this, you don't even know where to start. So, and I don't know if you watched the episode where I talked about, it was actually on Good Day Paris with Terry Keel, Kevin's wife. And she interviewed me to find out why I was doing what I was doing. And I just decided one day I was just going to find me a fat farm. And I Googled fat farm and I ended up at a fit farm, basically. And so that's where I realized, I don't even know where to start. I've been in the healthcare field nearly 40 years, and I've been a Christian many years. And I've known that I'm wrong, but I don't know how to get out of it. I don't know where to start. And so that's when we started the It's Me versus Me. That's when I started that.
You just said something so important. You knew you were wrong, but you didn't know where to start.
Didn't know where to start. Didn't know.
And I think that when we dig into the spiritual aspect of this, we can back up, way up, and we have to decide whether this is, how spiritual are we going to go, right? Who is God to me?
That's true.
And it doesn't mean that I get to define God. It means that who is he personally to me? And so if the word God represents, because we use father, if it represents a bad father, that I had as an earthly father,
right?
It's going to be hard to be committed to that God.
That's true.
We have a lot of people like that, and it's understandable.
Right. You are so right.
If God is an uncaring because I've had a family member pass away, or an unfortunate event, or as a child I went through something really traumatic, and I don't understand how God had a part in that, or didn't have a part in that. If I don't understand that, it's going to be hard for me to rely or commit to that God.
Well, that's so true.
That's why it's so important to try to look at why we do what we do. What are the hurts that cause the habits? What are the hurts that cause the hang-ups, cause the habits? What did this start from? It's important to go there. But as we do that, especially in Celebrate Recovery, Christ-centered recovery program, but as we do that on a spiritual level, we have to ask ourselves, who is God to me? If he has ever been my Savior, if he is a God that can save me, then he's a God that can comfort me.
Yeah. Wow.
If he's not, to me, then I got to see what's going on. Why not? How can he be this God to so many people, so powerful, but not to me? Is that possible? It's not.
Wow.
because he either is or he isn't that God. So why don't some people feel it? Some people don't know, but many people have been hurt and they just don't know. They don't get it. And that's okay. I feel for them.
I do
really
too.
feel for them.
I really do.
And I hope that they can dig in and discover who God is to them. Because once I can recognize a big God. How big? Well, if I start the Bible to say, in the beginning, God created. I had a problem with that when I was younger.
Why?
I was taught differently.
Really?
The whole society tells us there's all kinds of other ways, right?
You're right. The Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Apes.
if there's not a creator, then how could the Bible be true?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is an important discussion.
I can see
How could that be possible?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I have a problem with the first words of the Bible, I'm going to have a problem with a lot of the other things. And I had a lot of problems with all these other big things, these miracles, these seemingly large things. And so I had to study. I really had to study who is God, if he is the creator. And I believe he is. He is the creator. And if he's that big, if he's big enough to be the creator of all of these things, the universe, the stars, the planets, the plants, me. If he's big enough to be my creator, then he's big enough to do these miracles. These ones that seem really far-fetched in scriptures, like,
That's
wow, is
true.
that even, the sea was parted, this river dried up twice, and this whale, and some really things that seem so far-stretched, right? They seem, yeah, if you can believe the creator, that's not that big of a deal now.
Right.
Those are little things for a God that can create.
Everything.
If that's who God is, and then the scriptures are true. If the scriptures are true, then he cares for me. If he cares for me, then now I have a caring God. If that's true, then I can embrace him. And if he is my God and I am his child, then we can talk about that whole discussion of the temple.
Yeah.
Because this other stuff might stop many people from the discussion that says temple. My body's not a temple. Well, it might be. If the Spirit dwells in you, then you are a temple.
Wow.
What do I do with that? And you've been working on that, and that is awesome.
Wow.
What do I do with that?
Wow. Now, in your Celebrate Recovery, do you have a place where people can talk about this, where you're talking about where people might not be a believer, might not have given their life to the Lord, are kicking and screaming, don't want to believe in the Lord, or just don't understand it? Do you have a place for those people as well that are wanting to understand what the salvation plan is? Or do you have that too?
We do. It's in the lessons that we speak of the salvation plan frequently. There is no separation of believers and non-believers in the room. And let's be honest, how many Christians are Christians? This is the Bible Belt, and though it is a wonderful place where we can carry a Bible and go to church on every corner of the county, many of them are not saved.
They walk the walk.
Sometimes.
I mean,
Yeah, sometimes.
you know what I'm talking about. They talk the talk.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes I felt like that myself.
I was.
Where I would go to church, and then all of a sudden something snaps in your heart and says, "Oh, I get it now. I get it now."
For
But
me,
yeah.
that was learning who he is, studying,
Yeah.
learning that I can trust him. So in Celebrate Recovery,
Wow.
one of the most important things that I have had such value in is we introduce ourselves in a very specific way.
Okay.
All right. And we say, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, who struggles with blank, and my name is Jesse. So I'll say I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and I struggle with my own pride, and my name is Jesse. It's funny, you picked on that one. You said, that's a funny one to have on there. Oh, we can talk about that one for hours. What happens when we say I'm a believer, and we're in a circle of people who say, I'm a believer, and all of a sudden somebody says, I'm a believer, and they go, wait a minute, am I?
I was going to say,
Am I a believer?
What happens about the people that aren't believers that are
Sometimes
there?
they feel like they should say it, and they do. And then they go, maybe I'm struggling with this. And I'll say, it's okay if you're not a believer. Just introduce yourself as, I'm not sure where I stand with this.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I'm glad.
My hopes is that you'll become one, but I'm not going to force you. I'm not the Holy Spirit.
Like we said last night, that was an opportunity. That's an opportunity.
So week after week after week, we have to evaluate. Am I a believer? What does that mean? So instead of putting my identity in the struggle, in the addiction, in the problem, it's not, I am a blank, because I am not a mistake that I've made. I'm not a timeline in my life where I was doing these things. Because there was a time I was doing some things. And I could have been labeled. The world called me this, this, and this. Who said that? The world did. What does God call me? His child.
Right.
Created on purpose for a purpose. So if I'm his child, what's more important? The things that I've done or what he says about me? And so if I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, then that brings me to a different identity. And so I believe there's huge power in just identifying yourself as his child rather than a person struggling with a time in your life. Now, don't get me wrong, these struggles are real.
That's what my shirt says.
Struggle's real.
It is definitely, I couldn't even put this on right. Had to be on the side. It couldn't even be in the middle. Struggle is real. The struggle is real to put this sign on my shirt.
But it doesn't identify you as a person, me as a person.
A lot of times we let that be that way, though.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. A lot of people carry that chip on their shoulder, if you will. I was molested when I was a kid, so I'm this. Well, I was raised by an alcoholic dad, and so I'm this, and you're right. We carry that label.
So that has huge spiritual implication. Back to spirituality and all this. Basically, spirituality and wellness, right? That's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
If I know whose I am and he created me, now my weight loss, my addiction, my struggle, it has a different meaning.
It does. So you put on your refrigerator along with, I shall not eat this, or whatever, I am a child of God.
Why would I want to eat this?
Yeah, why would I want to eat this? And who does it glorify? What does it glorify? And is it something that's going to help me be better for him? And yeah, I need to put some stuff up in my refrigerator. And I used to have a post-it everywhere that said, I am a child of God, and I had it in my purse, and I had it in my wallet. And I don't have those anymore.
So you know the value of the reminders.
Yeah,
reminder.
Please do, man. I do. Yeah, I'm a child of God. I am a child of God.
So there's a certain amount of value.
Child of the King is what I used to say.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a certain value of saying, stop, no. And sometimes that's just as simple. I just need to stop. Sometimes it's not so simple.
No, that's true.
And as you figured out, you guys have gone around the world trying to figure out, metaphorically, there's different methods for different people.
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't believe that's the same spiritually. Because we're broken or we're whole. My wholeness doesn't come from me. It comes from him.
That's right.
And so if he has made me whole, I'm no longer the broken person who I once was. So why would I act like the broken person who I once was?
Wow. Okay.
I still try. I still try. I still try to throw up doubt. I still try to throw up fear and anger. But at those moments, I'm not remembering whose I am.
Wow. Wow, I love it. Okay, celebrate recovery. How can we get a hold of you? How can people get a hold of you and call and find out about all this? Because would really love for people to know about this particular Celebrate Recovery is amazing. It's right here in Paris, Tennessee at TVCC, Tennessee Valley Community College, Community Church. It's I used to teach at a community college. Right here in Paris, Tennessee, on 79 Highway, and tell us, do they need a call before they go? Can they just show up? Is there somebody to call to find out what you're doing, or what's up with that?
So you can reach the church at 641-8822.
731-641.
8822.
8822.
Or tvcc.us.
Really? tvc.us?
tvcc.us.
Oh, TVCC.
And, or they can link, they can get you to email me, and I'll correspond. I can text, I can call. I would say go to the church first.
Okay.
That's a little safety measure that I'll use.
Okay.
But I would tell anybody, wherever you are, just look up celebraterecovery.com, look up some YouTube videos, and you're going to find some that have some people saying some things that aren't nice. That's life.
That is. It's the way it is.
But I don't, like I said earlier, I don't believe in the program because of the program, but because of who it points to.
Right. Right.
And so it's not the end all, and I don't believe that everybody should hang out at Celebrate Recovery their whole lives. It's designed to help people get rid of where they once were, step into the new life with Him, or improve your walk with Him. Like, oh, I'm already a believer, I don't need that. Are you doing the best you can? Are you really doing the best you can with what you have to work with at all times? Is this the best walk that you can have?
Yeah.
If not, then you can benefit. Is it everybody's place? Not really. Would everybody benefit from the curriculum? Likely. But some people would be uncomfortable. That's okay. Not everything's for everybody, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
So
right.
Just show up. If anybody wants to show up, just show up. We have pens, we have bulletins, and we have notes. You can fill in the blanks for the people who like to fill in blanks. We got blank filling in too. So
I felt very comfortable when I went on the couple of times
good.
that I went, and I felt comfortable every time I go to your church as well. It's very good. 5:30 eating on Thursday night, 6 o'clock big group, and then you break up into smaller groups. And anybody that is thinking about being a participant on It's Me versus Me, I urge each participant to find out what makes them drive inside. What is our lack? What is our void? Where's our trauma? Where's our hurt? Do we even have any trauma? I'm sure everybody's got some. Some people deal with it better than others. Some people never have a hang up, and some people have hang ups over the smallest things, but they're, like you said last night, everything's real to you. And it's real to us. So I just want to urge anybody who wants to be a participant, we would love to help you figure out what's in here that's internal, that's that void that you don't know where to go to, where to start. I didn't know where to start till June of last year, and now I have a direction, and I'm so thankful for it. But as you you call us and we get you into the program. It's a 16-week Life Change Challenge program, and you get into this program and we start diving into just what makes us tick and figure out how we can continue to win the fight no matter what, because the struggle is always going to be real. There's always going to be ice cream. There's always going to be pecan pie. And there's always going to be Little Debbie's. And there's always going to be all this stuff that clouds what we're really here intended to do, is to be the healthiest we can be the most fit we can be, because of the things that we need to do for the Lord. And also not just about us, but about our legacy, about our children, about the generations after us. I keep harping on the fact that when you've got one heavy person in the house, you're going to have another heavy. You're going to have more than one, most likely, because everybody learns the habits. And sometimes it's not about trauma, it's just about habits. You don't realize that you can't cook this way or eat this way forever. And last week we talked about having a house, owning a house and not fixing the roof, it leaks. You got plumbing that leaks. If you don't keep fixing this house, your house is going to fall down. And you be in the medical field, me be in the medical field, I know how houses fall down. I know how people die when they're 35 years old or 40 or 50. When they get to 60, you can better start marking your years. I'm going to be 62 in April. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness gracious, I'm going to be 62. But I just saw somebody die that was 60. And I just saw somebody die that was 59. And I'm like, I don't have any time to waste. But you don't have any time to waste. I don't know how old you are. But I'll tell you what. There's no reason for us to keep wasting our lives being down, and like Anthony and all those that were, then Jerry, her name was Jerry, spelled just like mine. I pronounced mine Gary, she pronounced it Jerry. They were both bedridden, and they both changed their eating habits, and they both got up. So I'm just saying right now that we have places for people to be as participants in this program. I'm talking to the churches now. I'm going to give a big, huge discount to churches who want to do it as a group. If they want to get together and we can have group meetings where we can talk about why we do what we do and what can we do to fix that. I love the Celebrate Recovery. Please check them out. And I'm so thankful that your church is there. I love Steve Gallimore, and I love so many people. Lila is my cousin, and so just so many people that are in your church that I love. But that's not why I'm saying this. I really believe in what you're doing there, and I'm so thankful. I'm thankful for you being here tonight, and you are the man for the job. And even though you don't think that you have arrived, your heart is in helping people, and you might eat a Little Debbie every now and then and get out of control and be all crazy, but you're the right man for the job, because if it's not real for you, and if the struggle is not real for you, you can't help us get better. You can't help anybody get better. If you don't have the same fight, whether it be something that I don't even have a fight about, addiction's addiction. A disorder is an eating disorder, is a drug disorder, is a whatever. All these are the same fight internal. And I just want to thank you. Is there anything that you would like to say to people to help them? And you can look at camera too, and just tell them what you want them to know from your heart.
Well, I want to thank you for having me tonight. This is it's been a good night. It really has. I want to say there's no comparison. This isn't a sliding scale of I'm doing a little better than somebody else.
Right.
Am I doing my best with what I have? Very few people can say they are. I don't know any of them, if we're being honest.
No.
It's not me.
It's not me.
And so I'm an advocate for Celebrate Recovery, but it doesn't have to be Celebrate Recovery. I certainly appreciate the people of TVCC and of Celebrate Recovery that have helped me get to where I am. but he has been the one who's moved me there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's been such an awesome thing. And I just really hope that somebody hears and says, I can start. I can do better.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. God bless you for being here.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank him so much for being here. And so we'll be right back. Now, join us again next Sunday at 8 p.m. with the newest episode of Me vs. Me Life Change Challenge. If you would like to become a part of Me vs. Me, we are accepting new participants to be a part of our Life Challenge. So if you would be interested in the Life Challenge, contact us on www.itsmeversusme.tv. And if I don't get back to you in a timely manner, please call 731-924-9249. There are so many amazing reasons to get healthy. Let us help you to reach that goal. God bless to all. And until we meet again next Sunday night at 8 p.m., take care and keep on believing in yourself. Bye-bye.
It's me versus me, the struggle is real. It's me versus me, the struggle is real.